Hello, I'm Laura. Today I'm going to talk to you about record books and hopefully make it a little more understandable for you. What is record books? Well, record books are basically an assortment of everything you did in the past year. It is almost like a scrapbook, but with guidelines. It is like a scrapbook because it is something you can look back at and you can be creative with your pages, but at the same time there are guidelines that you need to keep. Why do we need record books? Well, it keeps a record of all your work. When you go and enter into scholarships and things like that, you can always go back and see what you've done. Also, it is a lifelong memory. Right now I can see that. I can go back to my old books and remember what I did that year. Also, it is a requirement for Clover Awards. If you are doing Clover Awards, which is a way to get scholarship money for summer camps, you have to do at least one record book. Alright, what are some things that we can include in our record books? The first thing you'll need is a project report form, and we will talk about that a little later on. You'll also need a project book and educational materials. You can get project books on almost anything in the 4-H office. You'll have to fill in the books and make sure that you include them. Photos and captions are needed as well. You'll need to make sure if you have a camera to bring it to your meetings and your community service projects. Take pictures of what you do. You'll also need a project story. On the back of your project report form, it will tell you a little bit about the story, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. You'll also need a project report score sheet. This is basically something you put in the front cover of your record book. It is so the judges can grade your work, and it's also helpful to see what they are looking for. Okay, this is what an intermediate project report form will look like. It is pretty self-explanatory. Your name, your age, your county, your mailing address. This is the easier part. This is the bottom part of the front page. This is a place for you, your parent, and your leader to give approval of this report. You need to have their strict signatures. Second page will look like this. Now, section 1 is what you should fill out at the beginning of your 4-H year. These are your goals for the year. Have your parents and leaders sign these early. Section 2 will just be highlights of the year, and you will have more pages that you will have to fill out answering questions about what you learned and stuff like that. So as I said before, the project story goes with the project reports. You need to add as much detail as you can. While writing your story, you need to answer questions like, what did you learn? How did you feel about the project? Did anything funny happen? What life skills did you gain? And how will you use these skills in the future? You also need to remember that this should be done in the 4-Hers' neatest handwriting. Your story should be no more than 2 pages of paper, one-sided. Okay, so how do I make a record book? Well, what you'll need is a binder. Really, any binder will work. The 4-H office actually has free binders. I personally like the ones with clear slots in the front. That way, I can make a cover page and I don't have to open it up to remember which record book that one was. As I said before, you do need pictures. They will add a lot to your record book. You do need to have captions underneath the pictures, just like a short sentence telling what you're doing. Agendas. You'll need to keep all your agendas from your club meetings and put them in there. Newsletters. If your club sends out newsletters, you can include them. If it doesn't, then you can always put the ones in the 4-H office sends out. You don't have to put them in. It's just up to you. You'll also need things like art supplies, or just stuff to decorate your book with. Be creative. You can mount pictures. You can draw pictures. You can use colored paper. You can use stickers. You can use stuff like colored markers, crayons, and pencils. The main thing is just to make it yours. Put your personality into it. Make sure you pay attention to grammar, spelling, and sentence structure. Age level and 4-H experience will be taken into consideration. If you are a Clover Bud, they're not going to look for much sentence structure as they would for a senior. Also, 4-Hers must fill out their reports in their own handwriting. Neatness counts. Also remember not to leave anything blank. If an answer does not apply, write NA for not applicable. Do not just leave it blank. You also should remember that your project books or portfolios can be reviewed on a non-competitive basis. If you do not want to compete with it, it doesn't have to be. Secretary and treasurer records can count as project report books. If you are a treasurer or a secretary, you can always put your records in as a project report book. That is nice. Project reports must be done in different areas. You can't do 2 on the same thing. Like, I couldn't do 2 on goats. I'd have to do 1 on goats and then another on another area. Also, signatures are required. You need signatures, and I would say don't wait until the last minute to get them. Get started early. Record books are due to the 4-H office by 4 p.m. on May 26th. It might be different, so check with your 4-H office. Also, don't wait. Start now. Trust me, this is not something you want to cram in at the last minute. You really want to get started now. It will help you so much at the end of the year. Alright, I hope you don't have too many questions, but if you do, go check with your 4-H office and they will be glad to answer any questions you might have. Thank you, and good luck on your record books.